My name is Kamlesh Lardi, and I am the founder of Lardi & Partner Consulting, which is a company based out of Zurich, Switzerland. And I work with, and me and my team actually work with large organizations to help them with digital business transformation. So we're a full-service company that works from end to end around developing customer journeys, developing social media strategies, designing digitization of products and services, as well as helping companies incorporate that within their business environment through process design and implementation. So I'm happy to be here today. It's such a wonderful event, very friendly people, and lovely, lovely Rotterdam. Actually enjoying it quite a bit. The first thing I want to let you guys know, which is something quite serious. I'm actually a very unique person. It's true. I would love to immerse myself fully in technology. I'd like to wake up, and my alarm clock tells me what's going to happen for the day, what my meetings for the day are, who I'm going to meet, what the weather's going to be like. I would like for me to be able to do my banking in my autonomous car when I drive to work. I would like to arrive at my office, and my favorite coffee is ready for me at the door, and my work environment, my workspace, has the right lighting and right heating levels that I like, very personalized. I'd like to be able to walk into a store when I go shopping and have my favorite personal styles and products ready there for me to try on. I'd like to have the right sizes on as well, right? So I'm quite unique. Actually, maybe not, right? Because today we live in a world that's digital, that's connected, that's sophisticated, and we live in a world where people have taken over technology, people have adopted technology in their daily lives from every aspect of their life. People have become sophisticated and connected. They've become almost kind of a digital global community. And the technology revolution has taken us by a bang, right? Because the kinds of technologies that we used to see in the 60s and 70s and 80s in science fiction movies, those things exist today. Those things are a reality today. So what a wonderful time we're living in. Such an awesome time to live in. I find that quite exciting, actually. And the rapid development of technology has also been quite significant. And what we're seeing is basically technology building on top of each other. As something is developed, the next phase of development builds on top of that, and so the accelerated rate of development has been quite significant. So let's look at some examples over the last few months. You guys are all tech people, so you've probably seen some of these. But I like these examples very much. So this is the mesh tag. And you know, I said in the beginning, I'd like to have my whole environment immersed in technology, and this type of technology can help me do that. So these are mesh tags that can that can connect your entire environment wherever you are and make it part of the Internet of Things, right? So you can set it up in your own home for a very small price of 190 euros. You get 5 or 6 tags that can help you connect your different devices, right? Talk about really incorporating digitization in our life. This device can reanimate a dead person's heart and keep it alive to the point when someone needs to use it for a transplant. This, of course, you've probably seen, the robotic chef arms that's able to create Michelin star-style food in your own home based on mimicking the movements of chefs. Tech tats, which are basically tattoos, temporary tattoos of circuitry that you can put on your body to regulate or to monitor your biometrics, and also to be able to control certain devices. And self-building blocks, these are the M blocks. It's quite fascinating. Imagine the possibility of being able to develop buildings that can rebuild themselves or remodify themselves, or to rebuild bridges, for example, that have actually been disrupted by natural disaster, for example. And this one is fascinating as well. I'm not sure how useful it is, and I'm not sure I would immerse myself this much in technology, but it's called the baby pod, and you can insert it into a pregnant mother, so the baby can listen to low decibel music, the fetus. I'm still iffy about that. So maybe I have a certain line, but talk about really incorporating digitization into every aspect of your life, from birth to death, right? But what's fascinating, what I find really fascinating, is the fact that these technologies have triggered a change in behavior, a global mass change in user behavior. So how many people here, show of hands, how many of you recognize this lady, this sweet little old lady? Some of you have seen her before, right? So she actually was an internet sensation a few months ago, simply for the fact that she attended a movie premiere in the US, where Johnny Depp was attending, without a mobile device. So someone took a photo of her standing there without a mobile device, and it went viral online. How on earth could someone actually be at an event and not view the event through the screen of a mobile device? People couldn't understand it anymore. So there were many theories going around. Some people thought she was wearing Google Glass. There was also a theory, a bit far-fetched, but there was a theory that perhaps she was an alien sent to Earth to monitor the digital behavior of human beings. So I'm not so sure. But what is definitely true is that the technology revolution has triggered a behavioral revolution, a change in the way people behave, and this has created the Consumer 2.0, a community, a global community of consumers who are connected, who are sophisticated, who are tech-savvy, and who are connected to people across the globe. You don't even have to know them, but you trust their judgment, you connect to them. You don't even have to be an expert in any topics, because information is available to you at the click of a button. So people have become far more sophisticated than they were 10 years ago. And what has happened is, you can see that technology revolution triggering this behavioral revolution in terms of statistics. People have they've started to spend more time on their mobile devices. They've started to use mobile devices as they watch TV. This is a growing trend now. And you're also seeing people starting to use smartphones for research before purchase decisions are made. People want to be omni-channel. They want to have the omni-channel seamless experience. If I purchase a product, I want to be able to communicate with a company or a brand via their email, via their physical stores, via social media. I want to be, if I don't get the response quickly enough, I go to several different channels hoping that someone would respond to me. Social media has also created such a huge impact in our community, because it started to, people are using it increasingly. I mean, about 2.6 billion people across the globe are using social media actively. And you have people who are actually trusting reviews on social media sites before purchasing a product or service. But what has remained is the fact that we are still physical beings. And human beings are so fascinating because we are able to converge these digital and physical environments in such a fluid way. It's become a fluid system for us. We can switch between the environments quite happily. So the question is then, or actually, what's happened is, once we have converged these environments, it's actually created a fluid customer journey for us. We can switch between different experiences, go to different channels as required. And it's interesting as well, because statistics demonstrate that 60% of any buying decision by a customer is made before they actually interact with a product or service, before they interact with the customers. The question is then, how much have companies changed? And companies are still living in an environment where they are physical. You have hierarchies, you have rigid processes, you have divisions and departments, and you have roles and responsibilities. It's still a very physical environment, whereas your customers are moving between physical and digital. They're jumping from environment to environment. They've incorporated it, they've merged it. And so it's become an environment where companies are actually racing to catch up with their consumers. So my experience, and I always like to share my experience, so what I do is, it's quite cheeky. I actually do like to test customer experiences with companies. Not necessarily, companies like me, brands and products like me, because I am the best kind of customer. I buy products, and I buy a lot of it. But on the other hand, companies also don't like a customer like me, because I want personalized products. I want personalized service, and I'm really tough about the interactions between the physical and digital environments. So an example here is the Watch Gallery. It's a company based in the UK. They've been around since 1985, but they started their online store in 2006. So they're not new to the online scene, and they collaborate closely with DHL to deliver products across the globe. They sell luxury watches. So I decided to buy myself a luxury watch for my husband's, for our 10-year wedding anniversary, and basically went online to the online store, and I did the worst thing that a customer could ever do. I picked a product that I liked online, but I wanted to customize it. And so it was really nice because the website provides you with a chat screen, and a customer service agent popped up very quickly after a few minutes of my browsing, and basically asked me, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Yes, I want this product, but I want a different strap. Can I do that?" So we had a nice conversation. She was really good about sharing information with me. But at the end of the conversation, she said to me, "Sure, we can provide you this. Can you send this to us via email?" And that really got me, right? Okay, so now I have to leave your online store and go into email and send you an email about the same thing I just spent 10 minutes talking to you about? Sure, I'm very understanding as a customer. I'll do that. But what happened subsequently, they sent me the wrong product. And it took actually 3 different tries before their collaboration with DHL was effective enough that they sent me the right product at the right time, at the right location. And what happened after that was a series of exchanges via email, via online chat, and via phone to make sure that they understood where I was when I was going to receive the product and how I could send back the wrong product and receive the right product. So this demonstrates the integration between the physical and digital environments were not working very well. Another example, Interdiscount in Switzerland is an electronics goods store, and they basically have emails, and on their website, they basically have discounts, very good discounts. And they did this to promote their e-commerce platform. So I went online one day, and I found a really nice, interesting product, 50% discount, and I said, "I'm going to buy this." I went to the online store. It was sold out, so I said, "I'm going to walk over to my local store and ask them for this discount for that same product." They had the product there, but the employees had no idea this discount was provided, which was also very interesting. Another example, Globetrotter. Globetrotter is basically a company that helps people book vacations, basically. And being a small family with a young child, we wanted a very specific designed vacation, which is why we went to Globetrotters in the first place. The customer service agent came back to us and said, "You know, we can't find any kind of vacation that fits your requirement in this location." So obviously, I went online and looked for hotels that fit our need and sent it back to her and said, "Look, these work." Right, so I was basically doing the job that she was meant to do. And what we see from these examples is the fact that many companies, although they have physical presences or they have digital presences, they find it really hard to incorporate the 2 environments together. And what definitely does not work in these examples are the fact that in the organization itself, digitization has not been incorporated. It has not been included. The processes did not work. The employees were not up to date. The infrastructure couldn't support these seamless digital environments. But we do see some good examples as well. For example, C&R, a retail brand in Brazil, they were able to very easily, using specialized hangers, incorporate Facebook likes on their, you can see the Facebook likes into their physical store by providing the number of likes for each article of clothing. You see also a lot more retail companies, physical stores having platforms where you can actually order online in the store. And here you have social media comments and ranking available in front of the product in your store. This is Walgreens. They actually have a smartphone app that helps you navigate through the store to find the product you want. IKEA has a virtual reality kitchen that allows you to immerse yourself into the kitchen environment and try what it would be like to be living in that environment. And many of the big luxury brands like Ralph Lauren and Burberry have interactive mirrors in their stores, which allow people to see the kinds of outfits that they're wearing and change sizes, change colors, and also interact with the customer agent at the front desk. So a lot of good examples of incorporating digital within your physical environment. But it's not just retail. We're also seeing good examples in other industries. So some of you may have already seen this. This is the virtual reality cinema that launched last week in Berlin. So how many people have actually seen that? Anyone seen that before? It's really an interesting concept because it's probably going to redefine the way we watch movies in the cinema. And it could be in 10 years, cinemas may not even exist because you might be sitting in a room where you're just using your virtual reality glasses with a bunch of other people, immersing yourself into the movie. This is also very interesting. I've not actually been there, but I hope the next time I come to the Netherlands, I can visit the Edge, which is the Deloitte office that's supposed to be one of the smartest office buildings in the world. Smart homes, 3D printing has redefined the way car manufacturers are developing their processes around building the car casing, for example. And of course, you have, this is one of my favorites. Anyone has the Moleskine writing set? Have you guys tried that? It's basically a notebook and a pen that's linked to an app on your phone. So if you write something, it's automatically saved into your phone. And you can automatically send emails, you can write text down and shift that over to your phone. So it's kind of an immersive writing environment, which I find really cool. I've ordered mine, so I'll let you know how that goes. We have also apps that hotels such as Starwood and Hilton are using, and the Marriott as well. So customers can actually check themselves in and go to the room and open the door with this app, which is quite cool. And another very good example of digital and physical environments merging. Nivea has, I think this was 2 or 3 years ago, where they had launched a print magazine ad where people could actually tear off a part of that print magazine and put it on their children. It's called Nivea Sun Kit. And this was actually a GPS locator. So if you go to the beach and your kid's running around, you can actually, with your smartphone, track where they are and see if they've gone too far away. And this was a hugely successful digital experience for Nivea. And it's not just companies that are converging, right? People are converging too. We're seeing wearables become part of our daily lives. And we're going actually beyond just using technology. We're going towards converging with technology and becoming part of technology and almost creating kind of a superior human race, which is really interesting. And I would be very interested to see in a couple of years how companies react to this when this becomes norm. When people start wearing technology on a daily basis, when people start incorporating technologies into themselves, how are companies going to react to that? So, when I speak to different companies, one of the things that I always say to them is the proof that digital and physical are converging can be seen really from the fact that digital companies, hugely successful digital companies, are now going towards physical environments as well. So Amazon, it's estimated that by 2018, they would reach about 2.5 trillion in global e-commerce retail business. 2.5 trillion, that's massive. But the global e-commerce market is only about 10% of the global retail market, right? So it's still a small percentage of it. So Amazon found that it would make sense, and also looking from their customer behavior, there have been many requests from customers that they want to feel the product, they want to try products before purchasing. And so they decided to create their own physical stores. We see the same example with Bonobos, a clothing retailer. And they have actually started a concept called the Guide Shop. And the Guide Shop is basically a store where they have one of every single product that they sell, and customers can come in and feel the product, try it out if they want to, but they have to buy it online. You can't actually buy it in the store. Right? So this is kind of the immersive experience that people are looking for. I would be interested to see how well these organizations are then able to run a physical business. Right? Because you need to have employees, you need to have processes in place, you need to have the right products in the store that are interesting for people. So that will be interesting to see how it progresses. So when I talk to customers, about digital transformation, about incorporating the digital world within your business environment, into your physical business, I typically like to use this model. It's a great way to explain to companies about digital transformation. And what we're seeing as well is there are 3 levels. At the top end, you have access level, which is everything that's related to the external environment. Things around your customer journey, around your digital marketing, around social media, and all these different access points. And of course, then you have enable, which includes things around product digitization and working with vendors and stakeholders. And at the integrate level, the very base of the model, you have things that are the core of the company, processes, people, technology, and so on. So it looks something like this. And what we're seeing, what I've seen a lot in the Swiss market and potentially across the European market is as well, at the top level, there's a lot of activity going on, right? There's an app for everything, right? And this I've had experiences myself with CEOs of large companies where they come in one day and say, okay, we need to create an app. An app for what? What are you going to do with it? Has there been a need? No, I played golf. And this was a real example from an insurance company CEO who basically said, I played golf this weekend with another CEO, and his company is launching an app soon. Great business case. And then it's like, now go write the business case for that, right? But it's really like that in the sense that there's a lot of activity going on, and there are lots of quick wins at the access level as well. But what's important within digital and business transformation is to make sure that you actually move through the levels. You have to make sure that your products are then digitized, and they're digitized based on the understanding of what your customers need, and that your physical presences, your sales force, and your innovation processes are all incorporating these elements as well. And you move into the organization, and you're starting to also digitize your processes, your process landscape, digitizing, making sure you incorporate a culture of innovation with your employees, for example, making sure the infrastructure, the technology platforms that you have are able to support these changes. A good example of this model, or an example that illustrates this model really well, is Nike. And Nike, basically, they started to use platforms like social media, somewhere around 2006 or early 2000s. And they understood from these social media interactions, from these communities online, that actually their customers were their visionary customers, the ones who are very active and very interactive. They were looking for ways to connect better with the company. They were looking for more digitized products and services. And so they moved towards developing products such as the Nike Plus, which is the shoe and the shoe that's connected to your mobile device. And once they started to produce that, they also started to produce customized shoes that you can go and design yourself with different colors. And once they started to produce the digitized products, they realized, actually, now we need to be able to mass customize shoes. We need to be able to produce products, digital products. And so they had to start looking at developing a more digital-friendly operating model, as well as process landscapes that could allow for these mass customizations, new platforms for 3D modeling that were available to the front-end customers so they can design their own products. And so the transformation actually had to occur through the entire organization. And one of the key findings from that was they needed to have a digital group within the company in order to bring all these initiatives together. And so they formed Nike Digital. So that was actually a very interesting progression for them as well as a company. One of the key things to start your transformation towards digital would be to understand technologies, right? So when you start understanding what are the new technologies that are available, what are the technologies that are going to impact your business, then you will be able to actually start looking towards what are some of the digital transformation initiatives I have to focus on. And I like to actually illustrate assessing new technologies based on a scenario model like this, where you actually would determine the value and impact and certainty of such a technology in your own industry, in your own company, right? So for example, a couple of years ago, Internet of Things was a hype. People were talking about it, but no one was really taking it seriously. And today, it's become a serious part of our business discussion. Blockchain, a couple of years ago, was not something that was discussed at all. Actually, Bitcoin and blockchain were seen as a hype. Right? Even I think somewhere around last year, there were many discussions around, is it really going to impact our business? Today, blockchain has serious impacts for our business. It's actually even impacting industries that we never even thought about. Blockchain as a technology could be used to develop smart contracts, which could potentially impact real estate, the legal industry, as well as music industry, for example. Right? So the potential and the impact are massive. The other thing that we do as well within this digitization process is to look at impacts of these technologies, not just within your own industry, but also across the board into other industries. And this is actually quite impactful to look at. So for example, 3D printing, we knew that it had an impact on manufacturing. But it also has a significant impact in logistics, because logistics firms today are looking at setting up 3D printing locations or localized 3D printing locations to print the products that they need, so they don't actually have to ship products to different locations. And this is quite an interesting development. So if a logistics company sets up a localized 3D printing warehouse or something like that, companies could then use that to print products and send it directly to the local customer, which could see a huge reduction in costs. You also have things around autonomous cars, and this is also an example probably you've heard many times before. But I find it interesting because obviously autonomous cars, self-driving cars have an impact in the transportation industry, but it also has a huge impact in terms of insurance, right? If we look at the future of insurance, who's going to be liable if a car actually gets into an accident? Is it the driver who's not actually driving? Or is it the company that produces the car? Or is it the company that produces the software for the car? Right? And if we take it a step further and look at autonomous cars having artificial intelligence, given the choice, would a car actually run into a group of people to prevent the driver from getting hurt? Would the car actually avoid an accident and run into a group of pedestrians to avoid the driver from getting hurt? And if that happens, who's liable? So these are interesting questions that are going to be raised, and these are business questions which insurance companies are asking themselves already at this point. The next stage, once you've understood the impact of technology and once you've seen how it could be utilized or incorporated within your business environment, is to really look at the customer journey, understanding how your customers behave. And here we're really not talking about your customers, just the customers today, but we're talking about visionary customers. And visionary customers are the people who have already started using technology, who are already tech savvy. And this question, it actually discussed quite a lot in the Swiss market, because there we have quite a large number of people who are still not using technology as actively as the rest of Europe. And you have small pockets of customers who have become far more sophisticated and tech savvy. Right? And so companies are still at that point where they're saying, well, most of my customers are not really using social media, they're not using smartphone for payments. You know, it's still kind of the small minority that are very tech savvy. But the important point is when you develop the future customer journey, you have to think not just about, you have to make a balance between your current customers, the ones who are not so tech savvy yet, the ones that exist today and use your business today, and the visionary customers, the ones that are tech savvy, the ones that are going to be disruptive and redefine the way your business operates. And really looking at how you can design the customer journey or develop a customer journey that incorporates these different groups and incorporates and understand the way that they actually incorporate technology in their day-to-day life, in their purchase decision, in their journey towards purchasing your products and services. So, I love this quote. I actually wanted to share that with you. If Henry Ford had asked his customers, the current customers, what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Fortunately, he had a view of what the visionary customers needed. So I wanted to share with you a quick example of how I've used the visionary customer journey for a client, for the Swiss Federal Railway. They actually have about 1 million people that travel on their trains every day in Switzerland, in the Swiss market. And they have very strong presence on, so they've been quite technology savvy. They've got an app that's used by over 4 million people. And they actually have a strong presence on social media as well, so they've got quite a large following on social media. And they had a big debate within the organization. One of the things that they said, they were able to assess the development of technology, and they said social media platforms are converging. There's no certainty that in 5 years these platforms would even exist. And so one of the things that they wanted to do was shift these social media customers into their current environment, into an owned platform, basically. So a kind of an online community that was owned by them. And the big debate was the management teams were not convinced that current customers actually use these platforms. And they were not convinced that they would actually use it on an ongoing basis and while traveling in the trains. So they were convinced that their customers were actually not that tech savvy. And so what we did was we utilized several different data sources, and this is what you would potentially do as well when designing a visionary customer journey, to look at different sources of information, including social media data, including information from the sales and marketing teams, including customer and market segment information, and speaking to the actual customers and the customer agents who have interactions with them on a day-to-day basis. So we collected a strong set of data and analyzed the data, and we were able to identify groups or segments of customers who would potentially benefit from these types of online communities. And we were able to even get enough information to define what kinds of content would interest them, what kind of interactive behaviors they have, what potential size they would be, which could then be translated into how much potential income could be derived from these customer groups. Because these online communities could be then used as well to sell journeys, holiday trips, for example. And so once we could define who these visionary customers are, we could then go ahead and develop a customer journey for what a visionary customer would do in the train and how they would use the online platforms and which access points they would actually use. So would they go onto a website? Would they go onto a mobile device? And how they would then interact with these different environments. So this was an actual deliverable that we created for them. And it defines how a person, a typical user, would go through looking for a holiday trip within Switzerland. So they would do their own research. They would actually try to identify ways to different sources of information to know where to go, which would be the best place to go, and then start booking that journey. And also at the end of the journey, when they arrive at a location, they typically take pictures and share that with their fans. So we were able to then map out this visionary customer journey and zoom into specific access points that we could then use to develop technology interactions with them. And so the online platform was then designed based on these use cases, a web page and a mobile app that could then be used. We could then design specific functionalities based on the use cases that we had defined. So if a person was going on a journey, how would he use these specific functionalities? And also then zoom into how they would be able to access certain functionalities only on the mobile device. So the online community was launched last month, and so you can actually check that out on the Swiss Federal Railway website. It was a pilot that was launched, and I think they've got kind of quite a significant response so far. So some key takeaways from the session. When looking at incorporating digital into your physical business environment, the first thing would be definitely to keep up with technology trends, making sure that you understand how these technologies could potentially impact your business, and then use scenario-based planning to identify ways that they could impact your business, your industry, and also cross industries. And then start looking at the customer journey mapping, also incorporating visionary customer elements into that, thinking about not just your customer today, but your customer of the future. And finally, identifying access points where you can zoom in to provide these digital access points that make sense for these customer journeys, that could solve pain points for your customers. That's my presentation for today. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions? We have 2 minutes left. Yes.
I noticed that in your model of your... I noticed... Yes, okay. I noticed in your model of your customer journey is really focused on getting that sale.
It's focused on what?
Focused on getting the sale. And we went to the mobile convention last week. And there was a presentation from a company in America who really focused on having those moments. So you're building a relationship with a potential customer, and in the end, there might be a sale. And that's how you base your customer base. How you comment on that?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but there isn't much competition in Switzerland for the Federal Railway. There's one big network of trains, and they are very well used. So in terms of brand competition and creating those kinds of strong customer interactions, they don't actually have. And as a brand, they are actually quite strong in the sense that they do have very loyal customers, and they do have pockets of people who are ambassadors for the brand and so on. So from that perspective, they had a very strong user experience. What they wanted was to look at increasing revenue, so new areas for revenues, and that was one of the objectives for the project. So that's why the focus is on that.